Welcome back. You're watching NewsX. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. December has witnessed a series of tragic events in the aviation sector. From the devastating Kazakhstan plane crash with 38 fatalities to the South Korean airline crash that claimed 179 lives. It marks the worst month for air travel. As we draw close to concluding the year 2024, today we're going to delve into the three major air tragedies that happened in 2024 and the 10 worst air crashes of all time, in hopes of coming up with some observations and solutions to make air travel safer. Let's quickly take you through some of them that of course have occurred and these were the worst plane crashes in fact that took place this year in 2024 alone. 24th of January in Belgorod, a Russian military plane crashed, killing 74 people. Ukrainian missile reportedly shot down this Russian military aircraft which was transporting Ukrainian prisoners of war. That was of course a picture of that aircraft that we were trying to show you, and this was of course the spot of the crash in Belgorod. Remember, this of course is Ukraine, this is Russia. It was not too far away from the border. Let's quickly now take you through another horrific plane crash. This happened on the 9th of August this year in Vinhedo, Sao Paulo. Voipas Airlines ATR 72 killed 62 people on board. Crashed there. The probe revealed signs of ice buildup on the plane. Icing detections were activated. These were of course pictures of that aircraft when it went down there. This happened in Sao Paulo, Vinhedo to be specific. 25th of December in Aktau, an Azerbaijan Airlines flight killed 38 on board. It's suspected it was damaged by missiles fired by the Russian air defense system, and you can of course see how unfortunately it went down there, killing 38 people on board. Thankfully there were some survivors in that tragedy. There you can see it went down at Aktau there, an Azerbaijan Airlines flight. This is of course Azerbaijan over there across the sea. Now let's take you through the 10 worst plane crashes of all time. When they happened, what went wrong, and the locations of them. 27th March 1977. In Tenerife North Airport in Spain, a KLM flight 4805 and a Pan Am flight 1736. A crash there, a collision, which killed 538 people. Horrific plane tragedy there. That KLM flight 4805 initiated its takeoff run in dense fog, colliding with the right side of the Pan Am flight 1736, and of course that tragedy there unfolded. Let's just slow it down so I can finish before we move on to the next slide. Thank you. Let's go on to now the next tragedy that occurred in 1985 on the 12th of August in Mount Takamagahara in Japan. It was a Japan Airline flight 123. 520 people killed in that plane crash. You can see of course a picture of that horrific tragedy there. Improper repairs by Boeing company to the plane's rear pressure bulkhead reportedly was the reason behind this mishap. 12th of November 1996. It was in Charkhi in Haryana in India. A Saudi Arabian airline there, flight number 763. 349 fatalities in this plane crash. That's the wreckage there at the crash spot. The Kazakh pilot's failure to maintain the assigned altitude reportedly was the reason for this particular air crash. It happened in India, in Haryana. On the 3rd of March 1974, in Ermenonville Forest, France, a Turkish airline flight 981 went down. You can see of course the forest region and the wreckage there of that aircraft. 346 fatalities in this particular incident. Incorrectly secured cargo door at the rear of the plane burst open and broke, reportedly causing this crash. Then in 17th July 2014 in Ukraine, in Rabov to be particular, a Malaysian Airlines flight 17 went down, killing 298 people. It was reportedly shot down by Russian-made surface-to-air missile. Very sad tragedy there and a shocking air crash. 3rd of July 1988, the Strait of Hormuz, Iran, saw a horrific air crash. Flight number 655 of Iran Air, 290 the casualties in this particular incident. 2 surface air missiles fired by USS Vincennes, a US Navy warship, was the reason reportedly for this air crash. 1st of June 2009, in the Atlantic Ocean, Air France Flight 447 went down. 228 fatalities in this particular incident. These were some wreckage found, as you can see, from the sea of the wing and the body of the aircraft. Icing over external sensors called pitot tubes and pilot's error were the reason reportedly for this particular incident. '8th of March 2014 saw another plane crash in the southern Indian Ocean. A Malaysian Airlines flight 370 went down. 239 fatalities in this particular crash. Based on general consensus, the flight crashed between 8:19 a.m. to 9:25 a.m., although exact time is still not known, reportedly due to fuel exhaustion. Now, in the 1st of January 1978, in the Arabian Sea, an Air India flight 855 went down. Reportedly, 213 fatalities were caused due to this, and irrational control inputs by the captain following unawareness of the altitude was the reason for this particular crash. 29th of December 2014, in the Muan International Airport, Jeju Air flight 7C2216 went down. 178 fatalities. Poor weather conditions followed by a bird strike reportedly caused this crash. Remember, unfortunately, it's a Jeju Air flight which has again gone down in South Korea. So those, of course, were some incidents that occurred this year, and also some incidents from all time. What lessons can be learned from these tragedies? Let's open this up. Air Vice Marshal P.K. Srivastava, former Indian Air Force officer, is joining us live. Group Captain V.N. Jha, former Indian Air Force officer, is also live with us. Major General J.K.S. Parihar, defense expert, joins us live. Vandana Singh, aviation expert, is also joining the broadcast live. Let me make a start with you first. Air Vice Marshal Srivastava, what lessons can be learned from these tragedies which have taken place in 2024, and also, of course, the earlier ones that we spoke about? Does every flight crash have a different story? And are lessons taken? Air Vice Marshal Srivastava.
Uday, we classify all the lessons we learned in 3 categories. The first category we examine is the human error category. And the second category we examine is the technical failure or technical error category. And third is the operations incident, like whatever operations procedures we have set for any class of aircraft, we see those SOPs and try to, further improve them or make them better. And as you have seen, aviation is a risky business. Incidents do happen because of multiple factors, and there are situations which cause them. So if you say, as we have been making aviation more and more safe, I would say we are on a trajectory which is naturally has improved. The number of sorties which go through, the number of flights which are taken, number of sectors which are there, they are multiplying and exponentially exploding. In that sense, the aviation sector or safety people have done a good job and has been improving. But we have 2 major incidents happening one after another, and it's a cause of concern for all people who are associated with aviation in any way, whether maintenance, flying, or procedure setting, or from traffic control. In this particular case, though all the data is not available because it is yet to be milked, the flight data recorder is yet to be worked out on, and the voice recorder will be taken into consideration. It appears from the visuals which have come in the media that there was a bird flock which was in the way of the landing path of the aircraft. Because of that, the runway 1, which was initially assigned to the aircraft, it was changed and the aircraft went on the runway 19. And the hit still happened. First thing which really causes concern for anybody who's associated with aviation, if there was a bird activity and a flock was there, why the aircraft is still permitted to land? That will always become a question. Maybe it just happened because normally we take care of that at least in the flight path, there are no bird activity and flocks are at least not there. And for a aircraft like this, which is a transport aircraft landing on a particular slope, it should be taken care of even better. Second thing is, when there was a hit, why the aircraft was not given the go round? Was there any fuel problem, or was there critical systems got damaged and there's no possibility for the aircraft to go round? Because if runway 1 was the chosen runway, probably the surface speed or surface wind was in a different, is not really in the way it should be. There may be a tail push, and because of that, aircraft can overrun. I'm not sure. I was trying to dig out if the particular airfield had any kind of sand arrestor barrier or not. Because had there been a sand arrestor barrier, probably the aircraft would have decelerated and not hit the wall the way it has hit, causing so many injuries. So there are many questions, as you rightly said, which we need to answer. But as it comes out, this particular aircraft, that is our Boeing 737-800 class, is a very well used aircraft, and it is one of the safest aircraft in aviation for the civilian flight. So happening such a macabre fashion really needs a lot of investigation, understanding of procedures, understanding of airfield which has been cleared for people to land, and all those things will come in play. So learning would of course be there, Uday, but we need to examine three categories and enhance our SOPs or methods or procedures even better. Over to you.
In fact, quickly take that across to Group Captain VN Jha as well. Group Captain VN Jha, can lessons be learned from these tragedies of 2024? Also, the horrific plane crashes of all time, were corrective measures taken?
Well, Uday, thank you very much for bringing out all the details of the some of the worst category of the accidents that we have had. But in my opinion, though it is very preliminary and initial part of it, this many number of fatality in an aircraft accident that had landed on belly, that continued skidding or sliding on the runway for the entire length, including the mud part. So many number of fatality, just two survivors I understand have been there, may go as one of the worst in the entire aviation history. I'm talking of in a condition like this. Now this Jeju Air flight, as Air Marshal told you, it's one of the Boeing 737-800 is one of the most used sturdy safety features, a galore, plenty of it, and very sturdy aircraft. It has been flying day in and day night all over the world by and large. Second thing comes up there, the situation, few things that I have seen in the video of the clip that has surfaced ours is that ATC cautions the pilot for the bird activity on the approach. And just about a minute later, pilot gives a mayday call. Yet he lands on the belly of the aircraft. I can't see any of the undercarriage visibly. Initially, I had a doubt that I had seen the nose wheel up, but that was not to be. That was the air intake of the other side, port side of the wing. And then it continues dragging the entire length, goes to the kacha. In this time, I don't find the pilot taking an action of opening the side slide doors on the aircraft side through which you slide on the runway. I haven't seen that. Yet another things, I can still see the aircraft nose up. The nose has not fallen onto the runway. That means there could be an effort of accelerating the aircraft, trying to again go up in the air. All these things I have seen at a small clip, and this makes me wonder what really had gone wrong with this. After there could have been a bird hit, possibly the engine usually dies down. With the bird hit, the undercarriages, they are not damaged visibly. Undercarriages are tested for a load of about 150% of the load that it is taking. And a couple of birds hitting the undercarriage will cause nothing of such things. Yet the undercarriage has not opened. Why undercarriage has not opened? Only the investigation will tell you. But that is the fact that the aircraft has landed, tried to land onto the runway in the complete clean belly landing with even none of the wheels on down. Second thing, if the pilot was trying to go wrong, why did he continue for such a long time? Any time that the aircraft touches the runway on the belly, pilot knows that aircraft has already hit the runway. Then there's after the initial few seconds, maybe 2 seconds or 3 seconds, pilot has no choice but to land in the same condition, and belly landing is permitted in the transport landing such a huge aircrafts. It is permitted. He could have tried that. He didn't try. Nose remaining up all through the runway shows that he has been trying to accelerate the aircraft. These are the initial observations that I have had. Then obviously he has not opened the side doors for the slide to be active and people to slide out of the aircraft. So these are the few things are the initial observations that is there. Surely my condolence to the entire lot of people who have lost their lives or who are badly injured. Uh, but it will go down as one of the worst of the accident in which aircraft on ground on runway sliding off, sliding entire length, and people unable to come out for some reason. God bless entire thing. Of course, as Air Marshal told you, we look at the aircraft accidents in the four categories, especially the transport aircrafts. They are human factors, they are the technical factors, they are the environmental factors, they are organizational factors. And invariably, whenever such, we were discussing some time back about the other aircraft accident, there is always a mosaic of events happening whenever there is a fatal aircraft accident, when such accidents happen. So let's see what all comes out. But these are my initial observations. Uday.
In fact, quickly take that to Major General J.K.S. Parihar as well. Major General J.K.S. Parihar, according to you, prima facie, the lessons to be learnt, the learnings from what transpired in the aviation sector with these tragedies being reported in 2024. Also, going through some of these shocking tragedies that I've just recounted earlier on the broadcast, were corrective measures then taken?
I must compliment Air Marshal Srivastava for giving excellent views on all points, so I won't touch upon those points. But yes, as the traffic, as we all know, the air traffic is exploding like anything all over the world. So the air security, the aviation sector has to take more and more efforts to ensure that aviation sector has a excellent security measures, particularly at the time of landing and take off at the airport. That is very, very important. As the population is increasing and there is always a rush to develop an area with the more commercial activities, as it has happened around the Indira Gandhi airport, we can see Aero City and all those. They are the factors which are creating nuisance. Now, accidents always takes place and it's a mystery as on today. What happens exactly, whether it was the technical fault, whether it was a human error or it was a navigation air traffic control, they were not able to understand the incidents that it could take place. These are the things which will come in the due course of the time. But yes, as the South, another remotest possibility, which is, I don't think it should be considered, but yes, that South Korea is going under the political turmoil. So there could be other angles also be, this has to be ruled out, some kind of attempt, which will be come out after the investigation. But air aviation at the airport definitely needs more tighten up the security, so such kind of incidents do not take place in future.
Okay, let me in fact quickly also take that across to Vandana Singh, aviation expert now. Vandana, what according to you has gone wrong in this year itself? We've seen such a terrible year with regards to aviation safety in 2024. Is there a pattern to it? Are all of these incidents unconnected? And what are the lessons that can be learnt, that can perhaps be implemented in the future to improve aviation safety?
Thank you, Uday, for having me on this show. First of all, another tragic day. We just got over the Christmas tragedy. Yes, 2024 has not been a good year at all. Of course, you were summarizing the worst disasters, of last few years that you were summarizing and showing it very well. But this one that's happened now is really extremely bad. You can't really link one to the other. Of course, bird strike is something that's very common that happens, and then aircrafts, pilots, everybody are trained, even in simulation rooms, they are trained how to deal with it. They can run on one engine very happily. 737-8 in this case is a very robust aircraft with a very good safety background. So first of all, what has happened now with the Jeju Air crash? This is disastrous because here every second counted, and assuming that it was a bird strike, it could have well been handled. Assuming that the ATC was giving an alternate runaway to the aircraft to land, then why was it that it was not configured for a high-speed landing? That's a question that comes to my mind after looking at a footage. The use of auto brake and spoilers, was that done by the pilots? That's another thing that will come out in the flight data recorder. That it went into a concrete wall, and rightfully, as Air Marshal Srivastava, as Group Captain Jha, and as well as Major Prahar has just mentioned all of this. This went into a concrete wall. Now, why did that happen? If it had not gone in like that, I'm pretty sure what comes to my mind that so many lives would not have gone. It went nose in straight and burst into flames. Normally at the airports, you don't have such concrete walls. Even if you have antennas on top, it's on a metallic frame through which an aircraft can easily go through. Why did this all happen is the question. Secondly, Uday, linking it to the previous one. The previous one, we know there is not so much peace on this earth as we know right now. There are a lot of war-torn zones. There are a lot of areas which can be hit by drones, can be hit by missiles, which have anti-aircraft missile system, etc., which is the speculation which is going on for the crash that happened from Baku to Grozny airport that happened on Christmas, and now this one. So there's no such link as such, but equipments nowadays are more and more sturdy, more and more well-defined. Safety precautions are taken, but then comes also the culture of the airline as such. Now, what was the safety culture here? Was it that there was confusion? Was it there was a pilot error? Was it that he tried belly landing? He could not. Was it that the speed could not come down? What was it? And as rightfully said, where was the undercarriage? We were only seeing the nose. So, yes, all in all, I believe the equipments are getting better year by year, that the Boeings and the Airbuses manufacturers are doing everything possible to make things sturdier, better, safety. Even for the future, if there is a crash, they say it will break off into 3 parts and land properly and no lives will be lost. But even as we are in 2024 and going into 2025, we see that this is happening. And this is very, very unfortunate that, these things are still happening. I do wish that the flight data recorder comes up with more information, and I wish that such things do not happen, at least once that can be avoided. Bird strikes will happen. This is normal. But bird strikes can be taken care of. And that's over. Back to you, Uday, because the rest has already been encapsulated very well by the esteemed panelists.
Over the years, Vice Marshal Srivastava, do you believe, the most common causes have been pilot error, bad weather, malfunction? What has been the most common cause of these tragedies unfolding on aircrafts?
See, if you classify the common cause in terms of human error or the technical malfunction, Normally, since we have been able to do the engineering in peacetime, and the aircraft aviation is getting more and more safe in terms of technical processes, practices, and maintenance practices, it happens on the spur of moment. There are some pilot errors which cause to that. But I would like to say something different here, because I have lived with pilots and I know pilots take due care, but I was in combat mostly. So there is an aspect of growing aviation, which is exploding in a way. A lot of new airlines are coming up. A lot of sectors are being covered. There are regional airlines, there are global or international flights. All these sectors, there is a requirement of experienced pilots. So what can happen in this case, that the kind of pilots you choose and the kind of pilots you put in charge of the flying, they may not be as experienced as you need to be. So the aviation sector, as a thumb rule, has to take care of one aspect, that don't grow at the cost of safety of the passengers. That growth has to be in sync with the training of the pilots, experience of the pilots, and the kind of runway and the kind of path you take also defines what kind of person can go over there. This is a very important learning. As Group Captain Jha has also pointed out, that if the aircraft was still accelerating, you have belly landed, and you are not able to bring the aircraft to safety somehow and save your passengers, there is an error on the part of pilot. Despite and spite of we giving the demise soul all kind of respect and all kind of thing, we need to do our learning. So essentially, it becomes very important that your processes, your procedures, your SOPs, because aviation is run through SOPs, whether it's for the technical part or it's for the operations part or it's for air traffic part. SOPs are the ones which are, over and over, run over, repeatedly done, and then the corrections through all these incidents add to making your SOPs even more
Yes.
sturdier and sturdier.
All right.
So from this also we'll learn the same thing. We'll learn what happened, and that learning can happen only when you have your flight data recorder and you go through the voice recorder. You see the debris, you see how you retrieve the parts and make out from each one what kind of bird hit was there. It really penetrate through the whole of the undercarriage, or the bird also went into the engine. If it went into the engine, then the pilot lost one of the engines. What happened then? If there was a surge, did the aircraft wear off? As we see now the visuals, I don't see the aircraft wearing off the runway. It is
Right.
going on the runway. So that being
Okay.
the case, we will think that yes,
Point taken.
human error we need to take care of.
Point
Thank
taken.
you
My
very much.
thanks to all of our guests for joining us. We've run completely out of time. We're slipping into a very short break.